Hey YouTube, thanks for joining me. Jurod120573 here, and I got to see Star Wars Episode 8 finally, and I have to say, I am very, very disappointed in this movie. Now, I am going to give you my scripted version of why I hated this movie, and also why I feel like Star Wars as a franchise is, well, for lack of a better term, doomed. Unless, of course, there is a major course correction. Now, I know J.J. Abrams is supposed to take over for episode 9, and he's got a hell of a lot of work to do to fix everything that happened in episode 8. So, that being said, I do want to make mention that I'm a big Star Wars fan, always have been. Collected all the games, the toys, a bunch of the books, a bunch of the posters. It's interesting because when my wife married me, she did not like Star Wars at all. And I actually helped her get into it. I say helped her like that was a real problem, but in any case, I got her to understand why I loved it so much, and she actually started to dig it as well. But this movie I went to go see by myself. Um, I don't know why. I just decided, you know what? Let me go check the movie out, and I had some time, so I did, and I saw it and couldn't believe what I saw on the big screen. Got home, then I saw it with my kids, who promptly did not finish watching the movie because they wound up falling asleep through it. Which, when kids fall asleep through a Star Wars movie, you know there's a problem. But in any case, that all aside, um, let's get into it. All right, Star Wars Episode 8, The Disney Dumpster Fire. I'll start off with the fact that as a standalone sci fi space fantasy flick, this movie fails. As the second of a trilogy, it's broken its own direction and setups. And finally, as part of the Star Wars universe in general, it is an unforgivable abomination. Those responsible for this garbage, Ryan Johnson, the Kennedy lady, all of them, they need to be forever removed from anything Star Wars. They have zero respect for the 40 plus years of lore and fandom, and really for the genre as a whole. I mean, the entire premise of Star Wars takes place in space or alien planets with space magic called the Force, and somehow they forgot how all of that is supposed to work together in this universe. But the movie looks great. Yeah, there's that at least. All right, so the sci fi space fantasy problems. First of all, apparently spaceships which need to travel across light year distances run out of gas. Yeah, you heard that right. Every other spaceship design in every space movie, book, game, novel, or comic runs on some kind of self sustaining energy source. But now, Star Wars ships use some kind of fuel that runs out. Does anyone else ever remember this happening? Does anyone else remember a space gas station in Star Wars? Wouldn't you need like a whole planet's worth of fuel just for one small ship to travel that kind of distance and speed? What about a whole fleet? What about a dreadnought? What about a Star Killer base? Great. So the movie starts off with a yo mama joke. Yeah, for real. A yo mama joke. Star Wars Guardians of the Galaxy edition. Listen, I love Guardians of the Galaxy. That's a whole different thing. And the writers for that are actually pretty funny and good. What they did with the comedy in this movie was ridiculous. But in any case, yeah, that's where we are. A yo mama joke to start a Star Wars movie. So as I said earlier, they forgot that Star Wars apparently takes place in space. So yeah, so the first thing in the movie is bombers that drop physical bombs. Think about that for a second. Not bombers that use laser bombs or propeller bombs or anything like that, but physical bombs that need gravity to fall in space. For real. So they open the bomb bay doors, and there's a person that's having a problem with the bombs dropping, which causes a struggle, ignoring the fact that once those doors open, she should have immediately been sucked right out. You might say, well, there were shields to protect her. Really? Where? I saw no energy shields or even any hint of an energy sound of any kind around her to say or to show that she's being protected by shielding of any kind, like in every Star Wars movie ever made before this one. In fact, there's whole sections of this movie which ignore the whole vacuum of space problems. Ships in this movie are completely split into pieces, but somehow inside those very broken, open ships, people are walking around like space ain't gonna bother me. There's only one scene where the vacuum of space actually shows up, and even that got the most ridiculous payoff I have ever seen in a movie ever. But I'll get into that in a little while. Okay, so now the bomber got herself together and she was able to finally get the bombs to drop. I will say that again. The bombs dropped in space. They weren't shot out. They weren't force pushed. They just dropped in space. For any other movie, I would have checked out right then and there. But I had to wait. I knew this was just a momentary lapse in what was going to be a great movie. I was wrong. So very wrong. So, on to the next thing. There is nothing to any of the planets or aliens introduced in this movie, outside of salt is red, like that needed to be explained for any reason. There was Space Vegas, which looked like regular Las Vegas, and is about 40 minutes of the most useless story plot in the whole movie. There is literally no payoff to anything that happened in that whole section of the movie, unless you count the boy at the end of the movie who can now use the Force to pick up his broom because he was given a Rebel Alliance ring. In fact, you might even say that the events started in Space Vegas caused more rebel deaths than any other stupid plan in this movie. Phasma's chrome color suit can deflect lasers naturally because lasers are light. Great, fantastic. That was a nice twist. So, why the hell are the rest of the stormtroopers in white then? Why not coat all your fighters and ships in chrome as well? And how did Finn crack open Phasma's helmet with a laser axe? The Force in combat was completely forgotten for some reason by the two most powerful Force users in the movie, which Luke is somehow not one anymore, but I'll get into that garbage later. Did they forget that in Star Wars, the Force is a major part of the Space Wizards' combat? There was a scene where Rey and Kylo are teamed up in a fight against the Royal Guards. of Snoke, who really had no reason to fight since their leader just died right in front of them like 5 seconds earlier. But admittedly, this was the best fight scene in the film. Until you realize that neither Rey nor Kylo, especially Kylo, since he was more trained and literally just killed Snoke easily with his force powers 30 seconds before, neither one of them used their force powers to fight. No force push, jump, throw, lightning, choke, nothing. What? All right, here's the next section. A sequel that forgot it was a sequel. Now this is just ridiculous. This is episode 8. So what does that mean? It means there were 7 episodes before this one, right? 6 of those episodes established laws of how this particular fantasy realm operates. Episode 7 starts the story of new heroes meeting old ones in this established universe, and with every sequel tying directly into the one before it. And then we get episode 8, where it not only spits in the face of the first 6 movies, but then directly says F you to the 7th movie that it's supposed to tie directly into. As far as the first 6 movies of lore, I'll touch on that in the next section, as that's the most egregious part of this whole garbage pile of a movie. Here, I will only touch on the fact that it is a direct sequel, and it crapped all over what episode 7 tried to establish. Here are some big questions from episode 7. Who's Rey's parents? Why did they make her heritage such a big mystery? Why is she so powerful for somebody with no training? Or was she trained and had her mind wiped so Snoke couldn't find her? Who's Snoke? Is he a Sith? Was he a Jedi? How powerful is he? Did he serve under Vader or Palpatine? Did he use Darth Vader's imaging to reach out to Ben Solo? When did he meet Ben Solo? When did he turn Ben Solo? And how did he create the First Order? Who are the Knights of Ren? Did they exist before Kylo Ren? Or did Kylo form them? How did the First Order get so powerful? Where did they get the resources to make the Starkiller base without the Republic noticing? How did Maz Kanat get Anakin's lightsaber? Why were there no more Jedi than just the kids Luke were teaching with Ben? He must have taught at least 2 generations by then. This movie does confirm that. So what did Luke go off to learn? Why did Luke leave a map to find him behind? Here's how episode 8 answered all of those questions. Luke grabs the lightsaber that belongs to his father, the lightsaber that belonged to the greatest Jedi to have ever lived, the lightsaber passed down to him by Obi-Wan Kenobi, who was the greatest Jedi guardian of his time, the lightsaber he himself was holding when he first battled the second most evil being in the entire galaxy and lost it. Luke grabbed this legendary weapon of generations in lore and threw it over his shoulder like a monkey who just pooped in his hand. Who's Rey's parents? Why the mystery? How is she so powerful? Was she trained and mind wiped to hide her true identity? Well, go to hell, because her parents ain't nothing. She ain't related to any legendary Jedi. The Force just wanted to spunk some extra midichlorians her way because she's got a nice smile. Gotcha! Who's Snoke? Is he Sith? Was he Jedi? How powerful was he? Did he serve under Vader or Palpatine? Did he use Darth Vader's imaging to get to Ben Solo? When did he meet Ben Solo? When did he turn Ben Solo? How did he create the First Order? Piss off! Snoke ain't nobody. None of these questions matter. He's a red herring with a bellyache. He's Kylo's placeholder, nothing more. Gotcha! Who's the Knights of Ren? Did they exist before Kylo Ren? Or did Kylo form them? How is the First Order so powerful? Where did they get the resources to make Starkiller Base without the Republic noticing? John Cena! Big baller brand never lost. Gotcha! How did Maz get Anakin's lightsaber? Sorry, kid, union fight. Look for the flower on the jacket. Gotcha. Why were there no more Jedi than the kids that Luke was teaching with Ben? He must have taught at least 2 generations by then. What did Luke go off to learn? Why did Luke leave a map of himself behind? Breast milk, you made my day. That's real Cambodian breast milk, Luke sings. Gotcha. One quick thing. Finn can't pilot a ship. That was made very clear. So how the hell is he piloting a ship? Here's a ridiculous plot hole. How's the First Order more powerful than the Republic? Even though the Republic blew up Death Star 3.0. The Republic fleet would have been growing and in operation for at least 30 years over the entire galaxy and is headed by a Jedi who does not show she's a Jedi until she's blown out of the ship and into space. The whole Republic army is reduced to like maybe 20 people by the end of this movie. This movie takes place right after episode 7. So from the beginning of episode 7 to this one was like maybe 1, maybe 2 weeks. And in that span of time, the Empire is back to full strength in spite of their incredible loss and has destroyed the entire Republic army. The Republic army was down to like 3 or 4 Star Cruisers when this movie opens up. What? How? Starkiller Base destroyed, I think, a Republic capital planet or planets. Not the whole damn Republic. And Snoke's ship would then proceed to chase the Republic ships until they run out of gas, where they will finally destroy the now Resistance. That was the actual plan. Never mind that they could have sent a few Star Destroyers ahead to cut off the resistant fleet and finish the job. So Poe went from an awesome new pilot hero character to moron. Finn went from hero to deserter, back to hero, but more stupid. Rose was... to hell with Rose. Rose, dear sweet Rose. She was the Jar Jar Binks of this movie, and unfortunately she also dragged Finn into that role as well. Let's start off with her job. She was the ship's plumber until she was promoted to guard the escape pods against deserters. She says she was cleaning and fixing the ship's pipes. So how the hell does she know how a lightspeed tracker works, especially if it didn't even exist? And she is not an engineer. This leads to the scene where Finn says he knows where the tracker is because he used to mop the floor in that room. Wait a minute. Wait, what? Finn knew where the lightspeed tracker was and didn't bother telling anybody? Wouldn't somebody had asked him what else he might have known about that? What else he might have known about the First Order in the first movie? The Space Vegas section of the movie was just there so that she could give a whole big speech about how rich people are bad and poor people are suffering, because that really needed to be said out loud for any reason. And how does Finn react to this? With the shock of a 5-year-old child. Finally, at the end of the movie, Finn has a moment of clarity, a moment of self-sacrifice, and this character, who has only been about himself, is going out for the greater good. Nope. This movie made it very clear that they would not let a man have any shine in it because penises are dumb. So Rose rams him out of the harm's way. She hit him head on at full speed with a ship that was already shown to be falling apart due to age and neglect, and they both survived. And then she went to give Finn a speech about how you don't win a fight with what you hate, but by protecting what you love. And then kisses him as the death laser is blowing open the door to everyone he was trying to protect, everyone that he has grown to love. Good job. There were two other scenes of self-sacrifice for the greater good, but those were women, so those were okay. But this one was a male, so no way, Jose. Also, somehow, Finn was able to drag Rose's unconscious body across the entire battlefield back to safety. Not to mention the fact that they literally crashed right in front of one of the huge walker tanks. It looked down at them as they crashed. Wouldn't they have followed up by blasting them as soon as they saw Finn run over to Rose? Yeah. So that's Rose. Oy. All right then. So Admiral Itzatrap Akbar was killed off screen to make way for a new Vice Admiral, Hodor, or as most of us like to refer to her as Admiral Purplewig. Admiral Purplewig, for some reason, decided not to share her battle plan with the rest of the soldiers, who she is now the leader of. And she seems to be more content to belittle Poe until he tries a full-on mutiny. She then sacrifices herself to save what was left of the resistance. But this was only after she sat back and watched the Empire destroy 90% of the escape pods. I'm pretty sure Akbar would have taken care of that situation a lot sooner once he saw the first ship get destroyed. But we couldn't let a male, even an alien one, have any shine in this movie. The fact that she didn't even brief anyone as to what her plan was started the whole Space Vegas portion of this movie, which resulted in all of these massive losses because the person that Finn and Rose brought in from Space Vegas betrayed them and was able to give the Empire the cloaking plans or something of the escape pods. And that's how they were able to destroy all of those escape pods. Yeah, good job, Admiral Purple Hair. So Rey beat Luke in a fight. Yeah, you heard that right. The only fight that Luke Skywalker is actually in this whole monstrous mess of a movie was with a girl who 2 weeks earlier did not even believe he existed. But she was still somehow strong enough to overpower him. Luke Skywalker, son of the most powerful Jedi Sith ever, Anakin Skywalker. Luke, who was trained by 2 Jedi Masters, had his own Jedi school, had been operating in the Force as a true Jedi for the better part of, I would suppose, 30 years now, was beat by a girl who did not even know the Force existed 2 weeks earlier. In fact, every male character in this movie, for some reason, is portrayed as idiots. Now, I'm all for women's lib and all, but this movie went to the extreme. Star Wars has always had powerful women. They've always had leaders as women. But those women characters were never written in a way where they emasculated their male counterparts. Like, truly, the title of this movie should have been Star Wars: The Shame of Being Male. I liked Rey in Episode 7, and I was looking forward to watching her develop. I liked her in this movie. But she went from 0 to 100 real quick. In fact, too quick. Luke was built over time. He was an innocent but annoying farm boy to a Jedi student to a full Jedi Knight over the course of 3 movies. It was a journey of years to get there, and he suffered losses. The same for Anakin Skywalker, who was the chosen one. He still had losses. He still had to learn to get to where he ultimately went, even to become Vader. That was what made those characters unforgettable. It was their journey to become what they were supposed to become. Luke was barely able to lift a rock and completely failed to lift his X-wing out of the bog with Yoda teaching him. And again, he was the son of the most powerful Jedi. Rey moved the whole mountainside of rocks with ease and no training. That is poor writing. When they say she was a Mary Sue, I defended her and I said, wait, there's going to be more to her story. There's got to be something else to her. She cannot just be that powerful for no reason. Yeah, she is that powerful for no reason. Well, I say for no reason. She's actually that powerful because they wanted to make a female superhero, which I didn't have any problem with that. What I had a problem with was the fact that they had to break established characters to make her seem relevant. That is not good writing. That's lazy. That's sloppy. And it's really, really stupid. Okay, so if those issues were not enough, here now begins my rant in earnest. All of those things that I've just mentioned before, those are nitpicks. I could overlook all of those things and still have enjoyed the movie. Here is where the movie really lost me. It was the breaking of all of the classic characters. Chewbacca is one of the biggest badasses in Star Wars ever. He also had one of the greatest scenes in any Star Wars movie ever in Episode 7. We've heard him roar 1,000 times, but it has never felt anything like when Han died. It was the biggest gut punch, and that roar, more than Han's death itself, was what brought a tear to my eye. So how is he used in this movie? Chewie eats porgs and is never seen again for the rest of the movie. It was his one scene in the whole movie. He's locked away in the Falcon for the rest of the flick. He might as well have been the throw rug that Princess Leia has been calling him for his entire life. The unceremonious killing of Admiral Akbar to introduce Admiral Purplewig was also disgraceful. First of all, if you're going to replace Admiral Akbar, you got to make sure it's going to be somebody who has weight. And Admiral Purplewig is immediately off-putting with how she treats Poe. That's not authoritarian. That's just somebody just being a bitch. Then she has a sacrifice scene, which apparently we were supposed to care about, which the visuals to the scene itself was cool. But if they would have left Akbar in there instead, the scene would have had 1,000 times more weight to it. Akbar has history. He has weight to his character. You know him. And you know that he would have done the kamikaze run immediately after watching the first of the escape pods get destroyed. He would not have waited for 90% of them to get wiped out before doing something. The fact that this was to force Admiral Purplewig into the script had zero feeling to the sacrificial scene outside of the fact that it was visually a cool scene. So Leia was blown off of the command deck, along with Admiral Akbar apparently, by Kylo's wingmen. It was a very jarring scene that gave me feelings. And I thought to myself, wow, that was heartbreaking. But it made sense with the fact that Carrie Fisher is gone. And this could be used to turn Kylo against Snoke and back to Ben Solo. So I got on board with that scene. They pan to her and play a somber version of her song, and I appreciated it as a beautiful final scene for her as she looked magical in her with her frozen skin sparkling in space. I expected it to cut to Luke, feeling his sister become one with the Force, making him more somber. But nope, that's not what happened at all. They pan over to her hand, and then this is when I said to myself, oh no, they're not going to do that. And then you see her frozen fingers wiggle, and she turns into space Poppins and flew back to the ship like Superman. Which, by the way, the ship was supposed to still be moving at sub-light speeds, so should have been long gone by now. But she gets to the door where everyone is crowding around, and it opens. And again, nobody is sucked out into the void of space as the door opens to a room that is very clearly exposed to space. She just plopped down, was taken to the med bay, and was not to be seen again till the end of the movie. No explanation, no one seemed surprised, except for the audience, of course. There was no setup, not even some kind of like throwaway sign, not even some little throwaway line about what she just did. No one questioned it. There was not one question from anybody. What? If poor Carrie Fisher were still alive, she probably would have died of embarrassment at the screening at how poorly that scene was executed. Yes, Leia was a Skywalker. However, up to this point, they didn't show that she had any powers at all outside of the twins' connection with Luke. In all the extended lore, Leia was trained by Luke. However, they said the extended lore was no longer canon for the series, so there was no reason to believe that this was still the case. There could have even been some side dialogue before the scene, as a small setup. This also begged the question, what the hell happened to the rest of the Jedi that Luke trained? If your argument is that Luke obviously taught Leia, then fine. My argument is going to be, then he obviously taught others as well. So where the hell are they? There must have been at least one class before Kylo's class. So where did they go? Back to the scene. Leia is getting spaced in front of Kylo was far more dramatic and impactful than the silly Disney princess bullcrap that they just pulled. This really just felt like a Disney princess cartoon moment. No, just stop. And now Luke. This was not Luke Skywalker. Mark Hamill played him. Yes, that was true. But that was not Luke Skywalker at all. Luke Skywalker was going to murder his nephew, his family, a child that he had obviously known and had been around for the child's entire lifetime while the child was asleep, on the off chance that he might join the dark side. Come again? Luke was going to murder the son of his twin sister and best friend while the child slept because he saw a possible future where the child may turn bad. The very same Luke Skywalker that surrendered himself to the second most evil person in the entire galaxy because he was his father, family, and felt a glimmer of good still left in him. He did not know, he didn't even personally know Darth Vader outside of the fact that he was such an evil individual. Not like he knew Ben Solo. Ben Solo he knew since childhood. This is the same Luke Skywalker who would not strike down the most evil man in the entire galaxy, the Emperor, who was not even his family, because he knew that his father needed to see him suffer to bring Vader back to the light. This Luke was now going to commit murder on a sleeping, innocent child who was his family. This is unforgivable. At this point in the movie was when I completely checked out. Done. I'm done with this movie. I don't care. I watched the rest of it with such disdain, I almost felt guilty for continuing to sit there. So let's fast forward to the end where we now have Hoth 2.0 and Luke shows up. And I'm like, well, let's see how this goes down now. Kylo comes to meet him in combat where Luke dodges every swing. And then he finally gives the Obi-Wan pose and gives him the strike me down in anger talk. And Kylo swings and misses. Luke is a Force ghost. What? Since when? Why haven't the Jedis ever done that before? All right, calm down, calm down. So I said, well, at least Luke survived. And then in the very next scene, he doesn't. He died. Wait one goddamn minute. You were going to kill him anyway. And the way you do it was not in one last epic battle, but by him pooping out a Force ghost on a rock. Done. I'm done, Disney. I'm done with what you're doing here. I don't care what happens to the rest of the series now. Rey is an overpowered Disney princess. Kylo is the most unstable man-child ever seen. Poe and Finn were emasculated for some reason. I don't even know what to say. I'm really disappointed. I hope J.J. Abrams has a magic trick up his sleeve, because I don't see how he can fix what Johnson did in this terrible abomination of a movie. All right, so that's my rant. Sorry it took so long. I didn't expect it to go this long, but that's it. And again, a diehard Star Wars fan for all my life. I collected all the toys, had all the posters, the books, the video games, everything. And basically this movie said, yeah, everything is irrelevant because now we're going to have a stockpile of Disney Princess Jedis. And if you're a male, you're useless. That was just the way they decided to go. And it's really, really unfortunate. So I do hope that J.J. Abrams can fix episode 9. However, I will not be going to the theater to see it. I don't care what the reviews say. They got me on this one. Won't happen again. I will watch it if I do decide to watch it. I will watch it on Putlocker. I will watch it online because I'm not going to the theater for something like this. They're not going to get my money again. All right. Thanks, YouTube. Had to get this off my chest. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.